And welcome to Goal Chat Live. I'm Debra Eckerling, author of Your Goal Guide, a roadmap for setting, planning, and achieving your goals, and founder of the DEB Method, which is my system for goal setting simplified. And every week, I lead the Goal Chat Twitter chat on Sunday nights. And then on Mondays, I bring in fantastic guests to dive deeper into the topic. And our theme this month has been rebuilding. So last week we talked about reinventing. Next week we're talking about confidence. And it's really funny because this past year, we probably reinvented ourselves, 5 times, 10, 12, but now things are opening up. And one of the things that we have to think about, I know I'm not the same person I was 15 months ago. You just need to look at the picture on my book to see that my short red hair. Things change, people evolve, but we all have this great opportunity to represent ourselves to the world, which brings us to this week's topic, which is rebuilding your image. And I have 2 fabulous guests, and I'm super excited because we are going to cover the digital and the physical. And I'm sure there's going to be some awesome crossover. We have Kate Paine joining us from Standing Out Online, and Tania Sterl from Sterl on Style. And okay, 2 confessions. Okay, maybe 3 or 4 or 5. But so Kate and I met like a year ago, but this is our first actual conversation. Tania and I grew up 2 towns over, and we met like a month and a half ago, thanks to our friend Elena Friedman and Finding Fabulous. So I am thrilled to have this conversation to bring these 2 amazing women to you, and I'm going to let you introduce yourselves, and let's start with you, Kate.
Okay. Well, first, thanks for having me, Deb, and nice to meet Tania for the first time too. We met through Vivica Von Rosen, who is also known as the @LinkedIn expert. Vivica was a mentor to me and now a personal friend, and I think she introduced us. Or through a show or something. Anyway, I am the CEO and founder of Standing Out Online. And my career really started way back when I wanted to be a broadcast journalist. And that was in the late 80s. And I had an internship at the CBS Evening News Broadcast Center in New York. And I worked with the Dan Rather news team at the time. And I learned then that I actually didn't want to be in corporate broadcast. So I finished up my journalism school, which was a great foundation to get me into the world of public relations and marketing. And then I started my business 8 years ago, Standing Out Online. And I work with people to help them really kind of identify their unique story to help them stand out on online channels. And my specialty is how to do that using LinkedIn.
Fantastic. Well, thrilled to have you here. And it's one of those things, I saw you on Vivica's show. And it's really any friend of Vivica's is a friend of mine. So I am really thrilled that we finally get to meet face to video face.
Yes.
And we have Tania from Sterl on Style. Tania, it is your turn. You look fabulous.
Thanks, Deb. I know I have my lightning bolt on today. David Bowie. So hello, everyone. I'm Tania Sterl, founder of Sterl on Style. I'm a New York City-based personal stylist, and I show women how to fully express themselves through their style. This way they're dressed and ready to be seen as the leaders and experts they truly are, in tune with their personal brand style. So I spent 18 years as a fashion designer here in the fashion industry in New York City. I also modeled. I worked on all sides of fashion, from production, oh my gosh, to PR, to sales, to design. So the years I spent designing collections, now I curate a woman's individual collection so that the colors, the looks all speak to her and how she wants to be seen. In addition to that, I'm also a speaker, co-author of a published book. I love speaking to inspire women to dress for the next level and what's coming up for them.
Well, and I said this before we went live, and I will share this again. Yes, I am wearing a dress because Tania's on the show today. Because it's true. So my goal, as you both and probably all the listeners know, is to be the first person people think of when they hear the word goal. Because everybody needs to figure out what they want from life. But once, to get what you want, you need to know what you want, and then you can build a plan. but looking the part is such an important value, because not only are you telling the world who you want to be, you're telling yourself. And that, I think, is such a key message, which leads us, coincidentally enough, not really, to the first question I wanted to ask you. So what does someone's image say about them?
It's their, my gosh, I mean, Kate will speak to this too. It is their mission, it's their message, it's how they want to be seen, it's how they want to be perceived. Studies show that the visual impression is the first impression that people make. When that Zoom room opens, our eyes dart around that Zoom room, and there's certain people we already know we want to connect with just because of how they look. Or when you enter that room at a networking event, or when you turn on the TV and you're watching, we all have different favorite, newscasters or morning shows, right? There's something about people's image that like inspire us or we relate to. So really, it's the question we should ask ourselves is, what does our image say about us? And our image is something that is relatively within our control, how we want to present ourselves, hair, makeup, eyewear, clothing. I like to say birds have feathers, animals have fur. We're lucky enough to get to choose our coverings. So why not choose clothing style to send that message, to let people know who we are, how we are, to inspire people to want to engage with us.
I love this. And we had this conversation a few weeks ago, and I kind of referenced it before. My hair, and I finally changed my picture away from my headshot, from the girl with the short red hair to the longer, darker, auburny COVID hair. And it's very interesting because identifying and embracing it, now I look at the short haired Deb and I'm like, I know her, she looks familiar, but this one I see in the mirror is she's cool and nifty and moving forward. So I want to thank you for helping me identify that, because that was really like the light bulb. So thank you.
Absolutely.
So Kate, tell me, what's your take on what our image says about us?
Well, like you said, I'm coming from sort of the digital side of this. So from the online standpoint, so I'm going to talk about image from the standpoint of how you show up on your online channels. And I'm going to specifically talk about LinkedIn, if that's okay. So
go right ahead.
LinkedIn is a place where your digital footprint can live online. You have an about page on your website, perhaps, but that just kind of is a paragraph or so about some highlights of who you are. But your LinkedIn profile is a place where your portfolio of work can be. Your photo is there, your bio, your summary, your about section is there. All kinds of things like your volunteer work, all kinds of things. If you have a really robust profile, that is where your digital footprint lives. And in this day and age, if you don't have a really stellar LinkedIn presence, then you are missing an opportunity from the standpoint of your image, because the cliche is people make a first impression, just like what Tania said, when they see you. And it's the same thing, even just with your LinkedIn profile picture. LinkedIn's not a place where you have like your kids and your dog as a profile photo, or that you don't have a photo where you're kind of like, this looking off into the sunset. People actually make eye contact with your profile photo, and it's that photo and how you appear. And obviously I want you to be yourself. I don't want you to be all showy and whatever, if that's not who you are, but I don't want you to be grim either. But people build a connection just through your photo. And then they want to read more about you. And in this day and age, as I was starting to say, people are searching people online before they have a Zoom meeting with you, before they meet you for coffee, whether they're thinking of hiring you or whatever. And so if they type your name in, if they know your name and they type it into Google, if you have a LinkedIn profile, the first thing that's going to show up is your LinkedIn profile in Google. So that is a chance for a first impression to really make sure your image, both your profile picture and your narrative, is a place for you to be able to really set yourself apart.
It's fantastic. And I love, that I love LinkedIn as much as you and Viv, because it really is a wonderful source of connection. And I am always surprised when I meet people who don't have LinkedIn profiles.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you say to those people?
Well, some of the reasons that people don't have a LinkedIn profile, I mean, there's hundreds, but some of them are they just don't understand how LinkedIn works. And LinkedIn as a company doesn't do much to make it easy to do that. Or they think that LinkedIn, which it was admittedly created, it was created to be a job-seeking platform. It was created to have your digital resume. And then in this day and age, it's evolved so much more than that, sometimes people don't go on because they're thinking, oh, I've got a job. I'm not looking for a job. So why do I need to be on LinkedIn? So I would say, well, LinkedIn's really evolved. Maybe you all don't realize this, but Microsoft owns LinkedIn. They bought it like 3 years ago. And it's so much more than a job-seeking platform now. It's really a lot of people are using it as a marketing channel for B2B and B2C. So having a presence there and filling in more than just the vanilla profile is really something where you can build your image there as your digital footprint.
And so we lead to the next question, and I want Tanya's the physical appearance take on this as well. What do you do to stand out? There's something that I love about your profile that says, ask me about paddleboarding, which I think is, I don't know if that's where you were going to go with this answer, but perhaps you want to. So what do you think?
On your LinkedIn profile, there's your name, and then underneath that is what's called the headline. And a lot of people just default by putting their job title there. But remember, nobody searches for somebody by job title. They search with keywords. So what you want in your headline is, and you have up to 220 characters for your headline, is to use a mix of keywords, maybe your tagline included, but keywords about what you do, the industry, the marketplace that you're in. And then what I do, again, to like set yourself apart, is I advise my clients is to put a little something quirky at the end of your headline, because it could be a conversation starter, and it's also a way for them to remember you. So on mine, I have paddleboard fanatic. And, you said, Deb, that was one of the things that attracted you to me. But I actually had just got a brand new client from Germany who is a paddleboarder, and she found me online and she reached out to me because of it. And we ended up, I'm not saying it's because I'm a paddleboarder that I got the client. Obviously, I have the services that she wanted, but it was the thing that made her connect with me.
Well, and it's all about that connection, whether it's through the words or through the way you look.
Right.
Tania? I thought that would be a good transition to the way you look. What do you think, Tania?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And to your point, Deborah, like our looks will evolve and change as our careers change, as our age changes, as our goals change. So really it's breaking it down to ask yourself, what industry are you operating in, right? Is it sales, marketing? Is it tech? Is it creative? Is it home design? Is it finance? Is it law? Is it business? Is it health and wellness, right? All those industries inform that image and how you want to look and how you want to present yourself. So it's about knowing the industry you're operating in and knowing the industries that your ideal clients are operating in. Who are you looking to attract? One of my clients, she's in marketing, but she loves working with women in health and wellness. Well, that looks differently than, say, if you are a marketing expert, but you want to attract clients in, like, say, fashion and beauty, or you're a marketing expert who wants to attract people in finance or law, right? So each of those has a little bit different tone, target market. But again, you want to dress in a way that makes you unique, that makes you memorable. To Kate's point, right? Putting that dub of like paddleboarding, it's what is it about yourself that's going to stand out and be unique and beyond the first impression? How will you be remembered? How will you be memorable? Kate Paine's, paddleboarding. For me, I wear these glasses on a speaking engagement, a Zoom room, or an interview like this. The Zoom room opens, people are like, oh my gosh, I love your glasses. All of a sudden, a reason to kind of connect and get more curious about who I am, what I do, what my profession is. So I think there's a way to, what I like to say is kind of like invest in your image, give some thought to your image that's going to give a cue into your industry so that you can blend into that industry yet stand out, be appealing and relatable to your ideal clients, yet what is going to differentiate you from that other financial advisor, marketing expert, hair and makeup artist, what have you?
Blend in and stand out. And it sounds like you're talking opposite things, but you're really not.
It's recognizing, yeah. Go ahead.
So what I was going to say is, so how do you do both? And also, to your point, I have a friend who wears glasses and everything, and she just put up a new profile picture, and she looks gorgeous. I did not recognize it was her because she didn't have her signature glasses on. It took me a minute. So, proof of your point, exactly. So how do you do both? How do you play both sides, as it were?
Yeah. So again, I think there's another little element to the blend in yet stand out. It's don't be afraid to stand out, just that little bit. To Kate's point, it doesn't mean stand out has to be, look at me, bright colors, bold. Stand out could also be like, understated. If you think of like, the founder, the founder of Apple with his shaved head, his glasses, his black turtleneck, Steve Jobs, he stood out because of this very minimal, understated. I always think of him as like the floating brain in the tank, right? He was just always in the black turtleneck with the same glasses and the same haircut. He didn't start out that way, but that became his image that made him memorable, recognizable. He blended into his tech industry because most tech people are the people behind the scenes. They're not really used to being out there in the spotlight. So to that point, standing out doesn't always need to be, here I am. Standing out can be, I am here, right? A little more composed and collected. So again, it's checking in with yourself. And for example, I have like 3 clients that all work in marital law, family law. And when you first think of, a woman who's a lawyer and works in family law, right? Many would think navy suit, white button-down shirt. But each 3 of them has a different approach. One is more of a mediator. She's more grounded. So she wears more earthy colors. The other one, she's really bold and brass. She's got bright red hair. So she loves wearing bright color suits. And the other one, she's a little more classic and traditional and understated. So she sticks to her charcoal, navy, and gray. But like marketing, being in a creative field, like go for it because you want to stand out and attract those clients that you're excited to work with and they're excited to work with you.
And the other point is when I talk about blogging or talk about writing or talk about really anything that you want to pursue, it's a lot of people know the same things that you know. And your image, what you're presenting, I think is a really good way. And in doing so, and I love those 3 examples, but doing so in a way that is visually appealing, but also true to yourself, it's finding that balance. So Kate, any other thoughts on the whole, how do you blend in and stand out simultaneously?
Well, I think that so let's go back to LinkedIn or the digital side is that, so what I work on with my clients to help them stand out online is when we're working on their LinkedIn profile, instead of doing like the very vanilla kind of bio, like I did this and I did that 10 years in this and I'm certified in that, you can bring those components into your profile, but there's places that those can go. So why use that about section to kind of like say all the stuff where you can like show your licenses and certifications, or you can show your work experience at this certain company or agency. So what I work on with my clients is I say, let's kind of dig into like a nugget of your personal story. So for example, if you are a veterinarian, why did you become a veterinarian? What's the little backstory there? And I think sometimes people think that when we talk about like your nugget of your personal story and incorporating it into the about section of your LinkedIn is that it's going to be multiple paragraphs. No, I'm not talking. I'm talking literally a few sentences. For example, the beginning of my about section is I was an avid news junkie in 7th grade. I thought I wanted to be a broadcast journalist and be the next Diane Sawyer. And I kind of tied that into like I ended up at CBS, but I was an intern. And then I decided I didn't want to be there. But that was kind of like my little nugget to give people a little bit of something that's going to be memorable about me. But it's also interesting and it doesn't go on and on and on. You know, it's something to captivate people's attention. When people look at your LinkedIn profile, they only see the first 1 or 2 lines of your about section. And then there's a little link that says show more. And then it opens up the whole section. So I usually say incorporate a nugget of your story that is relevant to your professional expertise and hook people in that way. And then, so basically for your LinkedIn profiles, hook them in with something interesting, tell them who you work with and what you do, and then sum it up with, and here's how I can help you. So that you're showing them what it's like, you know, when they look at your profile, it's a what's in it for them. Like, how is this person going to help me if I hire them? Rather than the bio blah, blah of 6 paragraphs of I did this and I did that.
This is great stuff. And I don't think it, and it's not, I'm all about the goal setting simplified. This isn't rocket science.
Right. It's not.
It's okay. It's just figure out the who you are and how you can present to the world your unique spin on whatever it is that you do, and just go forth. And you both really answered this question, but I'm going to ask you again, and just to get your brief takes. And so what do you see as your image? And then the second part is, what do people see? Is it the same thing?
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to start with Tania, who is like shaking her head a lot, nodding. That's the agreeing one at this.
Well, you've just described the main reason why people come to me as a personal stylist, as an image consultant, because for many of them, there's either a disconnect or they don't know. So it's, okay, I either have this new role or new title, or I've launched my own business and brand, or I'm, years into my business and brand, and it's time to level up or update it. And to that point, just like a Kate, where she starts with a person's personal brand, if I'm lucky enough to start with a client who's already worked with a Kate, they can come to me with their personal brand statement or their defining words. Then I can use that to create a visual picture for their personal brand style, their image, and I do that via a vision board. I usually do it on Pinterest because I can take those keywords. Are they bold? Are they audacious? Are they understated? Are they serene? Are they, so sometimes, to your point, there is a disconnect between what that profile picture is saying or that message that it's giving and how they want to be perceived. So people always say, oh, Tania is a personal stylist. Do you go through their closet and tell them everything you like and dislike? Oh, do you drag them around the store shopping? It's like, before I look at a person's wardrobe, before I take them shopping, I need to know what their current role is, that future goal, and how they want to be perceived. What is their title? What is their job? What is that role? Whether they work in corporate and they're looking for the next job, or whether they're a female founder, a business owner, author, speaker, on track to be thought leader. It's what is that current role? What's that future goal? And how are you going to dress in a way, right, to tell the world, like, here's who I am today and here's where I'm going next. So highly recommend people to get a personal brand statement done by someone like a Kate Paine, or that's where I start with my clients. I start by defining their style statement. I take them through a questionnaire, some keywords, and I ask them, how do they want to be perceived? Some people are too close to what they do and how they do it, and common words come up like confident, experienced, approachable, right? But then it's like, I have to just dig a little deeper, because it's like, yes, and what is going to differentiate you? What's going to make you unique? And I mean, I was that creative, arty kid. Like I've always used my clothing, my style, my image to express myself, and in different ways. So I've always been seen as like the creative one, the dynamic one. I'm also a good listener and I care. But I think from a young age, I learned like, ooh, through my style and my image, I can actually get different responses from people depending on what I wear or how I wear my hair. So I've kind of experimented with that. And in my modeling days, that was taking on different personas, right? For every modeling I did. So there's a way to just boil it down, start there, and ask yourself, how do you want to be perceived now? And then the fun comes in. I create the color palette, right? There's brighter color palettes for the bold, courageous ones. There's more subtle and serene ones that I use for one of my clients who provides clarity and peace in the home, Feng Shui expert, a more soft palette. Danny, who of She Dares, she does adventures, right? More bold colors. But it does start with that style statement and how you want to be seen.
Well, first of all, you jump to the next question, but that's okay. We're good with this. No, we're totally good with this. The other thing that I love, because I love how you ping pong from Kate to you, and it's really what I start with is, what do I do next? You grab my book, you talk to me, I work with you, because you need to know what you want to get what you want. Then you go to Kate to put it into words, and then you go to Tania to put it into pictures. The other thing that I wanted before we jump into Kate's take on this is, when we had a conversation, I think I asked this question, or I made this statement about myself, and I said, I consider myself like a girl next door type. And you looked at me funny and said, if the girl next door was a powerhouse, yes. And ever since we had that conversation, this is what I filter what I'm doing and the way I'm looking. So sometimes it's just, you may be close and you might just need that tweak. But a lot of what I do, it starts with visualizing. What is the life you want? What does that look like? And I love how you bring the piece of, what do you look like doing it? It's fantastic. So yay, go Tania. We're going over to Kate. So Kate, same question. How do you see yourself? How do others see you? And we'll tack on, what is the first step that you go through with people?
So it's funny, because what I really do, even though LinkedIn is like the tool that I'm kind of known for using, back up from that, because LinkedIn's just a tool. It's just a channel, just like Facebook and Instagram and everything. They're all tools. But the foundational work, which is completely what Tania is saying, you've got to go deeper. So it's that foundational work of like, who do you serve? It's like you have to go into marketing 101 a little bit. And I am answering your question, Deb, but you have to think about like, what is it that I'm doing and who am I serving? Because knowing who you serve is critical in defining on how you want to position yourself, what is your personal brand, and finding out what that personal brand statement is. So when I work on people with that takes time. What Tanya's talking about and what I'm talking about isn't something that happens overnight. I think what's interesting is when we saw the title of your show for this, Deb, about image, everybody almost might just think immediately hair, makeup, and who should take my picture kind of thing. And it goes so much deeper than that, because if we're going to market ourselves authentically, then we need to understand who we serve and how we feel about ourselves. And then you can hire that person who helps take you over the fence, who see the things in you that you don't see. So I've worked with a stylist. I've had friends weigh in because I asked, and I've finally determined the way my hair is now. And I only wear glasses when I'm online on computer because of my vision, but normally I don't wear glasses. So I've had to kind of take all these things in, but I've finally gotten comfortable enough to know how I want to dress, to know how I want to present. Same thing all this past, 15 months of being on Zoom. How I present on Zoom is a first impression. And even though I'm in my yoga pants below the waist, I'm going to look good on the top, because, but I also dress for the type of person I'm going to deal with too. Because if I'm all dressed up and I'm working with somebody or a guy who's in the renewable energy field, he doesn't want to be talking to somebody who's all, made up. So I kind of have to sort of feel out your audience, but I think that's just being aware of who your audience is, and you sort of adjust a little bit. It's the blend in, stand out piece. My father taught me, my father was an insurance agent, and my father taught me at a young age when he always used to say, I used to say to my dad, how come you don't drive a big fancy car around town? And we lived in a small town. And he said, because the people I work with don't drive big fancy cars. And I don't want them to have this image of me that I'm, rich or whatever, or that I'm better than them. I don't want them to think that's who I am. So I've always thought about that. And being in PR, public relations, which I was for like over 20 years, you're always worried about image, but not from the like the superficial standpoint. You're worried about like, I want people to take, how are they going to understand something in an authentic way? You're being transparent, you're being honest, and you're presenting yourself in the best way you can. So you can do that on LinkedIn. You can do that on your channels. You need to be who you are, so that who you are online is who you are when you meet somebody in person too, or on Zoom.
Great point. Did you have something to add back to that, Tania?
What was the second part of your question? I apologize.
Oh, now we'll get back to that.
Okay, I thought you had a second point that I was supposed to name something, and I forgot what it was.
We'll get to it. We're all casual. We're just having a fun chat that we're letting other people listen to. You're welcome.
Okay.
It's the genuine. I think that genuine authenticity part, I think, is huge. Be who you are everywhere, in the blend and the standout, and all the things.
I think, and Tania, you might agree with this. We don't want to package people. You package, if you have a widget, you package the widget, but you shouldn't package yourself. Like, don't think of yourself as like this package that you need to be, bright and shiny. You truly, you know what? And I think the pandemic has done this. I think the more we are who we are, I think that the pandemic has forced us to really see people and be more gracious, I hope. And I think in this day and age going forward, even after the pandemic is done and then we're coming out of it, I think genuineness is going to be the norm. And I think that's one of the good things, I hope, that will come and have staying power from this.
I hope so too, because we've gotten to this point where it's like, okay, and I'll show up to client meetings with my glasses, but when I record, I always, I do this.
Yeah.
But it for very similar reasons, I'm not going to talk to my casual client in a dress, because then it'll seem odd. But if I'm presenting to businesses, of course, this is the norm, what we want to put out there. But the mixture of genuine, and I think the secret to genuine is to actually be genuine.
Exactly. It really isn't rocket science. I mean, just be who you are and don't feel like you got to be something you're not. And by the way, you're going to evolve in the growth of your business. And so so you are going to change. Like, you changed your hair, you kind of realized some things, but it was all natural for you. It was all part of your evolution.
I also agreed. I also think people are more genuine just because they're too tired to not be. Mm-hmm. Do you think that could be part of it? Do you have some thoughts on this, Tania?
Yeah, I really appreciate the genuine aspect, right? To just show up and be who we are. And that's what's so interesting with my clients are kind of half and half at this point. I have my clients who are, executive or partners of their accounting firms, law firms, and they dress to set the tone and set the example, going down, then director management. To that point too, I've styled women to improve their image so that they have a greater chance of being promoted to director, manager, or partner. But I've noticed the shift in the last year where now they're going, wait a minute, this last year, like, it was literally, let's just survive and show up. Mm-hmm. And it became so casual. And now that offices are coming back to like a hybrid model, I'm having consultation calls with these CEOs and partners so that they're learning how to set the new dress code tone for this business casual that can't be like roll out of bed, don't brush your hair, sweatshirt, right? Like, and like, but what is this new business casual that's going to be going on in the workplace office? And then the other half of my entrepreneurs are the speakers, are the inspiring ones, are also business owners, but of their own business. So they're setting the tone for their brand, their employees. But being entrepreneurs, we have a little bit more flexibility. But to your point, Kate, a little bit more grace.
Mm-hmm.
How many women, and my clients included, and women in general, have come to me going, you know what? I'm letting the gray grow out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not dyeing the gray hair. I don't want to be judged for my gray hair and, all the judgment that goes with women for, ooh, gray hair, what's her age? Like,
Yeah, right.
new time where women are like, you know what? This is how we're showing up. Yes, I have gray hair and I'm owning it. So
Right.
get used to it. This is the new image of how women are showing up in leadership roles, in the office, in their jobs. The other part of that is women, Black women, brown women, letting their hair go naturally curly. This is a huge conversation I have in more traditional industries, law and finance. They're changing the rules of the game. But I had a client who, you know what? She does websites and branding. She's going to go naturally curly. She's a Black woman. She wants to work with more Black owned businesses to amplify their brands so they can make more money and get, clients. So to your point, Kate, this last year has shooken everyone to the core of, yeah, who am I genuinely and
Right.
how am I showing up? But going forward with a little more grace. Cats, dogs, kids, like everyone showing up on these calls. But there's definitely this wave of just being more real, being more vulnerable, being more honest about how we're showing up, but still being a little bit responsible about how.
Absolutely.
It's literally not like I literally had some executives come to me and go, I can tell there's some people on this call that just rolled out of bed 5 minutes before, hair disheveled, sweatshirts. But we're like, Deborah said, we're about 15 months into that. So now it's just, right? Ask yourself, how do you want to be seen? How do you want to show up? But there is a more genuine, relaxed, honest way that we're showing up.
And that's also to what you just said, Tanya. Do you mind if I just hop in on what she said, Deborah?
Please.
Okay.
Please.
Is one of the things that's really popular, hot, whatever your term is, online, regardless, is video. More and more people are doing video. And if you're not doing video in your business, you're missing an opportunity. But what's cool about what we just went through with this pandemic and to everything Tanya just said is that video doesn't even have to be as polished as it used to. Like, people felt like they had to get a producer and they had to have graphics and they had to have all of this stuff. You've got a pretty good tool right here. You can use Zoom if you want to record yourself on Zoom and use that for uploading to a channel. I mean, we've got so many easy ways to do something that, as long as your video is good and your audio is even better, because people will forgive bad video, but they will not forgive bad audio. That's a little extra tip. Is as long as you are well lit, and you don't have distracting sounds behind you, and maybe you use your earbuds with the mic, or you use a headset, or you have a microphone, you can get these tools really inexpensively, and you can just kind of put something up there because people want the content. They don't necessarily need to see the video be perfect. And so I think that relates to the whole image thing.
So we're in like a transition and an Etch-a-Sketch and a rebuild. Yeah. And so people can basically, let's say, and I start the year, normally I start the year, well, every month actually, but July is the new January. I did last year. We'll be doing again this year. So we're starting in June, July, the summer. There's still things people want to get done by the end of the year. And I'm saying anything and everything is possible. You just have to commit to it. So let's talk to the people who are like, I'm ready to rebuild myself, my image, post-pandemic. What are some really simple things they can do to build themselves up to the person that they plan to be or are the best version of themselves? Do you want to start us off, Kate?
Sure. I think what I would just say is pause. Think about who you are, who you serve, and what you want to do in your personal brand piece, and just hit the refresh button. You don't necessarily have to redo everything. Maybe you just want to make some tweaks so that way it's more doable. I think sometimes when we think about a makeover, we're like, oh my gosh, we got to completely start from scratch. And in some cases you may, and maybe you want to. Maybe you've seen other people and you're thinking, I really love her hair. I love the way she dresses. but I have no idea how to pull that together. So I need to hire somebody like Tania to help me with that. And so then the makeover piece may be exactly what you might need. From the standpoint of digital, take a look at your online channels. Look at how you present on LinkedIn, on Instagram, Facebook, whatever channels you're using. And think about, like, have I been putting out content that is helpful? Like, am I of service to the people that I want to attract? Instead of maybe I'm putting too many posts up about me. And so maybe I need to be putting more up about content that is going to be interesting to the person that might hire me for that service. So maybe you just need to kind of tweak it a little bit and edit it a little bit. And the other thing is, there's people out there that you can hire to do this. You don't have to do it all by yourself. Maybe pull 2 or 3 trusted people into your circle and say, hey, listen, I'm really thinking of hitting the reset button. Where do you think I should do that? Should I rebrand my logo? Should I change my hair? Should I redo my LinkedIn profile? I mean, these are all things that are part of the whole image sphere, and kind of figure out what just maybe needs some tweaking.
I love that you just said ask a few trusted friends, because so many people will be like, they ask everybody, and all that's going to do is it's going to confuse you, and it's going to annoy all your friends when you take nobody's advice.
Exactly. No, it's true. I mean, I'm actually going through a rebranding of my logo right now. I picked 5 people, one of which was my husband. So 4, to give me feedback on the various iterations of my logo. And I did that on purpose, and I think 8 years ago when I was creating my logo, I put it out on Facebook. I mean, when I think about, like, I had 167 different opinions, and I was just completely lost. I was like, well, that was stupid.
You learned
Keep
real
it
quickly.
simple.
All about the simple.
Yes.
Great. All right, Tania.
Well, I like what you said, Deb, with, you said that, June is the new January, or July is the new January. And I think that's one reason you and I really clicked when we first met, Debra, is the first thing you asked me is, hey, Tania, what's your goal? And it was just
I do that.
right. And it was like to show women how to fully express themselves through their style, to be the go-to personal stylist, New York City based, but I'm working with women nationally now, thanks to virtual. But the first thing you asked me was, Tania, what is your goal? So to that point, I start there. I don't do as deep a dive as you do, but I do start there with my clients. This is being recorded in June. So any new clients that are coming to me, or my clients that I've been, dressing for their speaking engagements, their website makeovers, their new photo shoots, I ask them, okay, what's your current, like, where are you at now? But what does the next 3 months look like? What do the next 6 months look like? What are the events that you're dressing for? And when I say events, I don't mean like Oscar awards, like events. Right? I mean like our events, showing up on networking events, speaking engagements, events, speaking at a conference is an event. I have a consultation with a new client. She just published her first book. She's speaking at her first conference in August. She's a busy working mom. It's her business. She works from home. And she's like, do you even think I have time to think about what I'm wearing? Right? But she's got one shot to get it right, because that conference is online. It'll be recorded. She can then use that video as a marketing tool, upload it to her YouTube, share it on her LinkedIn, her Instagram. And she's got one shot to get it right, to really wear that thing, wear that style statement that's going to represent her brand, and be memorable. So to your point, Deb, I think people should start with Deb with, what is your goal the next 6 months? Is it attracting more higher paid speaking engagements? Are you on track to be seen as a thought leader and a sought out expert being interviewed on podcasts? Like, what are those goals? So you can go, oh my God, yeah, what do I need to dress for the next 3 to 6 months? In tune with my goals, in tune with my personal brand. And if your brand has been changing, oh my gosh, I went through big change in evolution myself the last year, as have for my clients. So I think to your point, Deb, right? It's so funny. My business coach likes to say every day is January 1st. Always set those goals, right? And proceed. But it's being aware of what you need to dress for that's coming up next and making sure that you're dressing for who you are now and what you're looking to attract next. I literally had a woman, this was before the pandemic. We were at an event in a showroom in New York City with one of my favorite designers. And she said, Tania, do you think there's a dress here for me? And I was like, well, you're a LinkedIn expert, LinkedIn branding color, blue. Why don't you pick a cobalt blue dress? Lo and behold, she was like, well, it's a designer showroom. I'm not used to spending this much on myself. I was like, just try it on. She put on this dress. She looked and felt so confident, so powerful. She looked at herself in the mirror. She was just like, whoo. Everyone in the room was like, oh my gosh, that's the dress. That's the dress. She contacted me a week later. She booked her highest paid speaking gig.
Yay.
Because she had the dress she was going to be wearing to it. She allowed herself to step into investing in herself, elevating her image, and just the energy it felt when she looked in that mirror. To your point, Kate, right? You're showing them what they can't see yet, their potential, what needs to be on their LinkedIn profile. I'm showing them that potential on the inside, outside through what they're wearing.
Right.
So, oh my God, she owned her value and she saw her value reflecting back to her in the mirror in that badass power blue dress.
Wow, that I think is going to be one of my favorite stories because it's the perfect anecdote. It really drives home the point of when you are who you are becoming, it's there for you.
Mm-hmm.
It is there for you. I go back to my favorite statement. To get what you want, you need to know what you want. Don't know what you want? I've got this very helpful book, but it's all about taking the time for you, giving yourself the gift of time to figure out where you are now, where you want to go, and what you need to do to get there. And I talk a lot about visualization, and I will definitely be referring to this wonderful story of Tania's client who dressed in the power suit, and boom, it was like the Cinderella thing, right? You dress, you put yourself out there. I'm sure her LinkedIn profile was great too. Got to bring Kate into here. And presenting yourself. And we did reinventing last week. And after the reinventing, I went and reinvented my LinkedIn profile because as people are transitioning, one of the things I am doing is corporate speaking. So to get into the businesses, I get to go back to being corporate dev, which is really funny because I worked in corporate in LA for almost 7 years. And I was the pants and shirt Deb then. Now I am the power dress Deb. And when you see it, you can feel the difference. And when that happens, you create it. I want to keep talking, but I want to get more from you guys. So I will do one more really super quick story, which is it was the beginning of 2018 where I transitioned from Write On Online to the Deb Method. So I rebranded as me. And I use the Deb Method to create the Deb Method. And every step I've taken since then, since owning me, the process it's made a difference. I mean, I got an agent a couple months later. By the end of the year, Mango reached out to me. When you are your authentic self, doing the things that you love, you attract that.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
So true.
I think the hashtag of this show should be #OwnIt, because that's what I teach, to my clients and everything too, is you really need to own it and because it's going to just empower you to feel that much better to step into it.
Do you have a hashtag you want to add as well, Tania?
It's own it, and it's also dare.
There you go. That's good.
Dare. Sometimes I like to say dare to wear, like dare to wear that next thing, dare to wear that new thing that's representing where you're going next. Because Kate mentioned the word evolution. We are in a constant evolution with ourselves personally, spiritually, emotionally, and also career-wise. Career, we're always going to be evolving. And when I remember when I booked my first speaking engagement, I was terrified. I'd never done a public speaking engagement before. And it was just like, holy ass, it was just like, hold the front door. But lo and behold, it led to me launching my own business, launching my own brand. I'm 8 years later. My gosh, I can't even tell you how many speaking engagements I've had, or online training, or in-store speaking events. But it was a push for me. That was an evolution. I was behind the scenes designing in fashion, and the modeling was different because I was modeling different personas. But 8 years ago, when I got to speak, got asked to speak and present for, it was Savvy Ladies. I knew the director then. And it was that push. So I had to own who I was outside of that fashion designer label that I'd had for the last 18 years. And all of a sudden go, I'm a speaker? Oh, I'm a speaker. Because after I delivered it, it was like, does anyone have any questions? Half the audience raised their hands. Women lined up to ask me questions. I said, oh my gosh, there's 18 years of knowledge I have in fashion. I didn't realize how little women knew, or just want the confidence to be reinforced. So to Kate's point, it's a total evolution. We have to own it, embrace it, but also dare ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We are in this constant evolution, or leaving corporate to launch our own business, leaving that nonprofit to become a motivational speaker, being done with being the lawyer and now being a Zumba instructor, whatever that is, right? Owning it, but daring yourself just a little bit. Because when you dare to wear something new, then you can see, feel, embrace, embody, and own who you are now and where you're going next.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. It's an evolution. Own it, embrace it, dare to wear it. Boom.
Yes.
All right, now before we wrap, I need a goal from each of you to bestow upon our audience. What is one thing someone can do right when they're done listening or watching to rebuild their image? And let's start with you, Tania.
So I'm going to dare everyone who's listened to my tips and Kate tips, take these tips, pause, reflect, carve out what I call a fashion fantasy hour. Carve out an hour for yourself. Really go down a rabbit hole on Pinterest. Ask yourself those questions. How do I want to be seen? What are my defining words? What are those adjectives that describe what make me different? And then just go down a rabbit hole on Pinterest. A fabulous statement bag, a fabulous shoe. It could be a sneaker. Who cares, right? Like whatever that shoe that's moving you, fabulous bag, a backpack, or the other. Create your own Pinterest board that describes your style, and then look at your wardrobe differently. Are there some things on that Pinterest? Is it a pair of leopard print sneakers? Do you have a pair in your closet? If not, you know what to shop for next. So it's not about going out and buying a whole new wardrobe. It's about creating that fashion fantasy hour for yourself, asking yourself, like, what's new? Like, how do you want to be seen? Looking through your wardrobe with a new lens and identifying 1 or 2 or 3 new things you could purchase to bring into your wardrobe that match that new style statement.
Love it. Great goal. I'm going to shorten it. Go down the Pinterest rabbit hole. Create a board for yourself, compare it to your closet, and pick out 3 things that you need to add to own it, that you are going to dare to wear. Okay, Kate, a goal from you, please.
Well, again, we'll go back to LinkedIn just since we've got that theme going. So think about your headline on your LinkedIn profile. Think about the keywords that describe the work you do, not the general, not like marketing. Like kind of find the niche and figure out what that niche is and incorporate some of those keywords into your headline. And then the other piece is to think about that little something quirky. So are you a triathlete, a dog mom, the paddleboarder, that kind of thing, the barefoot water skier? Think of something, and it doesn't have to be hokey. It doesn't have to be corny. It might be master gardener, and it's going to be something that somebody's going to connect with you and want to, maybe it's going to be an icebreaker to a conversation. And then think about your personal story. What's that little piece of you that you haven't shared that you can incorporate into your narrative in your LinkedIn profile in the about section specifically, to talk about like this little piece, like, why did you get into what you're doing? Like, why are you a book coach? Why are you a stylist? Why are you doing what you're doing? Share that in a few sentences. Play it out on a Word document or a Google Doc. Don't do it right in the back of the LinkedIn profile. Sit with it, edit it, get some input from one or two people that are good writers, and just kind of get some flair so that you can add a little flair and personality to your LinkedIn profile so that you're not just blending in only and doing like resume speak. Let's kick it up. Let's take your LinkedIn and your digital footprint. Let's take it to the next level.
So the overall goal is kick it up a notch.
You kick it up a notch. Absolutely. Add some flair, add some personality. And you can do that without making it all about you.
But you want to kick up your wardrobe, your style a notch, and then your digital persona a notch. So that's like 7 notches, and it's wonderful. Now, Kate, where can people find you?
Well, you can certainly find me on LinkedIn at Kate Paine, and that's Paine. You can also find me on my website at standingoutonline.com. And I'm on Facebook and Instagram as well.
Wonderful. And Tania, where can people find you?
Yeah, so I'm all in and all at Sterl on Style. On my website, Instagram, Facebook business page is all at Sterl on Style. And I invite you to connect with me over LinkedIn as well, as Tania Sterl.
And I will have all these links and some great notes in the recap, which will be up tomorrow. You can go to the debmethod.com/blog to rewatch, get some notes, look at the links, and check out this and the other previous awesome Goal Chat Lives. Ladies, this has been wonderful. I thank you so much for joining today. And those of you who are listening or watching, we really appreciate you taking the time for yourself to join us. Again, I'm Debra Eckerling. I'm at The Deb Method everywhere, thedebmethod.com. If you want to learn more about my book, you can go to yourgoalguidebook.com. We'll take you to Amazon or look at your favorite bookstore. But I think the point is this, and I just want like one final tip from both of you real quick. Embrace who you want to be, and then you can become that. So one final thought, Tania, one final thought, Kate, and we'll wrap it up.
My little sign back here says, raise your game, make your mark, stand out online.
Love it. You live your motto too. Excellent. Okay, and Tania, final thought.
Dress to express the true you.
Excellent. I love it. Thank you both so much. Again, thank you all for watching. Go embrace your future self. Digital, physical, the who you want to become. It's all out there for you. So just go on out there and go for it.